what we're basically covering today is new features in the Documents CorePack Dialog for Dynamics 365. Looks like a few of you are familiar with this, so just kind of want to go ahead and get into the basics here of basically what this is. So the Documents CorePack Dialog, what is it? It's basically a way to create and process documents from the command bar. So in your Dynamics instance, if you're using Documents CorePack, you'll have this little Create Document button up there. Probably familiar to y'all. You just click that, and what that does is it basically takes you into three steps, right? The first step would be your template selection, where it gives you the ability to choose your template, right? The next step would be like the processing settings. What do I want to do with this document once I created it, right? What do I want to do? Do I want to create a PDF? I want to set it as an email attachment here. I want to save it to SharePoint, maybe run a flow afterwards, etc. And last but not least is the review and edit section, right? Where I can able, once the document's created, before I do a lot of this post-processing things, I can review it, I can actually edit my document and everything like that, and then send it into the post-processing portion of it. Now, this is available for single and batch processes, right? So if I want to create a single document, or if I want to create, say, for example, I have uh, a view of, say, 30 uh, records, right? I can select all those and create, the 30 documents themselves right off the bat. So that's what we mean by that. The next logical step to that, so from the Documents Core Pack dialog, when we were kind of going through this is kind of how it all started. One of the things that we found out was that a lot of people are doing the same thing kind of over and over again, right? So what we came up with was something called a one-click action. And what a one-click action is, it's a pre-configured document process. Let's say, for example, I'm creating a quote, and what I always kind of do the same thing. I select the same template. I always want to generate this quote as a PDF. I will always want to send it via email. I always want to save it to SharePoint. And I always kind of want to review the document before I send it out, right? Um, so basically what we do here is we allow you to configure these one-click actions where you basically automatically set these settings, right? Okay, so I go ahead and I predefine them. And then what that then does for me, for my users, is it gives them just a basic button where they click that button, they click that one-click action, and it automatically selects the template for them, that I'm going to generate the PDF, send this email, save to SharePoint, and give them a document preview, right? So every time. So it gives you consistency when you're using one-click actions. It gives you that consistency that leaves little room for error. If you're familiar with that, there's a lot of, as you saw before, there's a lot of options and stuff like that to pick. So you can actually, tailor this to your users so that it's just easier for them. So they just basically do everything in one click, right? From there, what we found is people want to create these document packages, right, where they use several templates or several documents from different sources, right? So we call that, basically for us, it's called a multi-part document, right? So creating these document packages, multi-part documents, same thing, right? Originally, when we first brought this out, we had three different sources that we could use. One would be, of course, Documents Core Pack templates. The second would be notes inside of Dynamics 365. You could reference notes in there, so and actually grab the document from there and put it into your multi-part document. And files located on SharePoint, right? Last, the new thing that we're going to kind of cover today is the dynamic documents. We'll get into that a little bit later, exactly what it is, but just to kind of give you an idea of what a multi-part document would look like. So say, for example, I've got a proposal. In that proposal, I want to add a cover letter. I want to add a company intro. I want to add spec sheets, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right? I want to put all this together. And what this allows us to do is then to define these all in a single one-click action, right? So basically what it does is when I use the Documents Core Pack dialog, it looks like this, right? So I have the ability, I'm going to have the cover letter, company profile, proposal, terms and conditions, all that kind of stuff here in my dialog. Now, some of the features of this, just to kind of go over it, you have, like, say, for example, conditional inclusion, right? Conditional inclusion would mean, like, so the best example that we always tend to use is, I like this one a lot, is let's say I have different terms and conditions for someone who lives in the state of Georgia or someone who lives in the state of Florida, right? So basically what I'm able to do is basically do a condition that says, if this person lives in Georgia, based on that particular field in Dynamics or in Dataverse. If that person lives in Georgia, I want to use this template. If that person lives in Florida, I want to use this template, and that's automatically selected. Okay, it's automatic selection. I also have the ability to do user-defined inclusion, and what we mean by that is, if you can see over here in the DocumentsCorePack dialog, you can see here these little checkbox. So, like, say for example, when I'm creating this, maybe I don't want to send in this proposal. Like, say I've sent them a proposal before, maybe I don't want to send them the company profile. I can leave this box unchecked; it will not be included. Terms and conditions, again, I can check the box, and again, I also have the option to use several different templates here. I could send it here in this particular case in English, German, France, Spanish, right? So I can select that. So as a user, I can select that. So I can define that as a user. We also have the ability to do continuous numbering and formatting. This is something that's kind of behind the scenes. It's one of those things that, we want the page numbers to all be in sync. Well, you have that ability because basically, when you cram all these documents together, you want it to look like one single document, right? You're just generating one single document, not several different documents like in a workbook or something like that. You want to look coherent all the way through the document, right? So we have the ability to maintain numbering throughout this multi-part document, also maintain formatting throughout the entire document. That's definitely things that you can select. So let's go on and talk a little bit about dynamic documents and what it is, right? So what Dynamics document, it allows you to create and include documents from related and unrelated records. So let me explain a little bit about why this is kind of important and why this is kind of cool. The major thing is, before, when you were creating documents with Documents Core Pack, when you were using these one-click actions, you always had to stick with the table or entity, right, that you were using. So if I was creating a one-click action for an opportunity, all my Documents Core Pack templates had to start at the opportunity level, right? So they all had to be the opportunity. Right. So now, with the dynamic documents, what this allows me to do is it actually allows me to say, for example, like, I have the opportunity, I want to include all quotes related to this opportunity, but I want to use my quote template for this, right? I'm able to actually select that, as you can see here, right? I have these different options, say for example, on the opportunity. So opportunities related to quotes, and I have the related quotes, basically, that are related to my opportunity. I can select from those, and then it will go and create um, those documents from the actual quote itself, right? So I'm creating documents now from the opportunity, like using templates from the opportunity, using templates from the quote as well. It also allows us to do things for unrelated records, and I will kind of show an example of that in the demo. Okay, this will probably become a little bit more clear once we kind of do the demo. The next piece that we're going to talk about, it's a new piece for the dialogue, is SharePoint integration for email attachments. And what this allows you to do is attach documents from SharePoint to emails generated with the dialogue. How is this important? I mean, so basically what we found is usually people want to basically create a document, attach that to an email, but then they want to include things like, say, for example, terms and conditions, price sheets, or um, flyers for different products and things of that nature. They want to include that in there. And what this basically allows us to do, these additional documents, is actually to go into SharePoint, to the SharePoint location, and basically select these different PDFs or Word documents or stuff that we want to also attach to the template. Also attach to the email, to kind of put that in there. So I basically have my email with my generated document from Documents Core Pack and additional attachments as well. Allows you to select all those. All right. So let's talk a little bit about the demo that we're going to do today. Our use case is creating proposals and basically, creating proposals. The step by step, we're going to do the configuration of dynamic documents. Going to go really in depth into that and show the attaching emails from SharePoint as well. So let me just move over into my demo system real quick, and we'll take a look here. As you can see, I am on an opportunity, right? And for my proposal, basically what I want to do here, I just want to hit my create document button. I'm going to create my proposal. I've already created this one click action. I'm going to go through this first and kind of show you how this all works, right? So I'm going to go ahead and select my proposal here, and you can see in my Documents Core Pack dialog here, I have the ability to. I'm going to be sending a cover letter. I'm going to be sending some terms and conditions, and then I have the ability to select from my related quotes. So I have two related quotes related to this opportunity, and like I want to select both. I want to include both those in there, both those quotes. So it's a proposal, so I want to show them the two different quotes that I have. So I'll go ahead and create this. And I'm just going to go ahead and create this as a PDF. Everything is already pre-selected right through my one-click action. So I'm going to go ahead and say next. Right. And then what it's doing is it's actually taking that. It's creating my proposal here. It's throwing together those two quotes, just kind of putting those all together, converting everything to a PDF. And here we go. So let's take a look at this and see how it turned out. Right. So here we go. I have my proposal, my cover sheet. Okay. Along with my first quote that I'll be sending, followed by my second quote, and then followed by my terms and conditions. All right. So how does this look like in the one-click action? How am I configuring this multi-part document? Let's have a look at this quick. So let me shut this down. So one of the nice things, if you are familiar, if you are an admin and you haven't seen this before, basically from the dialog, you can actually go ahead and get straight into your one-click actions to edit them. Very handy. So takes me straight to those one-click actions. So I'm working on my proposal here, right? So you can see here now I've gone ahead. My template selection here on the second part is a multi-part document. I've selected a multi-part document, and I've selected. So I have my cover letter. It's a Documents Core Pack template, and I just define it right here. My terms and conditions is from SharePoint. It never changes, right? So I have my SharePoint information here, right? So my SharePoint information. The quotes, however, is a dynamic document. And how do I define those, right? So what I want to do is I want to get quotes that are related to the opportunity that I'm working on. And we do that through using a fetch, right? So if you look at the documentation, which we will basically include, um, which we'll include. I think Michael will throw that up here in a second. This is basically your standard fetch to include your your related records, right? So basically here, my entity or my table here that I'm looking at is a quote, right? And I have a conditional attribute. It's the opportunities equal to the value. This is the only thing that you're probably not familiar with. This is not standard fetch, but it is the GUID. So basically, I'm taking the GUID of the opportunity. So it doesn't really matter what opportunity I'm on. It's always going to pull back the quotes that are related to the particular opportunity record that I'm working with, right? And that's how I do this. Again, this is defined in the article. Very simple to follow. Okay. So once I'm done with that and I've put my fetch in here, the next thing that I have to do is give it a one-click action, right, from the particular entity. So from my quotes, I have a one-click action called a process quote. It basically takes my quote template and then and merges that quote template against the record that I'm using. So in my particular case, I had the two different quotes that were related to this opportunity. It runs that one click action twice, runs through it twice. And this is kind of how I can do things like, for example, I don't have to have everything related to the opportunity. Every template doesn't have to be starting at the opportunity. This allows me to, have templates on the opportunity, also have templates on the quote. Let's say, for example, though, that what I want to do is I want to add a let's see, it's basically an introduction to the support engineer that's going to be assigned to this person. If they decide that they want to go forward with one of these quotes, there is in this particular quote there is a training session and like setting up and things of that nature. So I want to add a little introduction to our systems engineer that's going to be actually helping them with this. Well, the thing is that of course naturally uh, opportunities, there's no relation from an opportunity to a system user, right? But with the dynamic documents, that doesn't matter. I can create that. I can create that. So what I want to do here is I'm going to add a new document part, right? And I'm going to call this document part. Let's see here. We're going to call this systems engineer as my label. Here I'm going to be using a dynamic document, right? And so now you can see here I can set conditions to do this, but I always like using a fetch is usually the best way. So here I want to define my users, want to get at my users table, right? And so I need to now say I'm going to do a fetch. So like so now probably a lot of y'all are saying like, well, I've never worked with fetch before. I've never done that. How am I supposed to do this? Really, really simple. And for me, the simplest way to do that is with our advanced find, right? So I have my advanced find opened up. Let me just kind of blow this up for you. And if I take a look at this, if I go ahead and get all my results here, you can see I have 138 different users in here. That's going to make that dialog huge, right? So I want to narrow it down to just my systems engineers, my 3 systems engineers. So easiest way to do that, right, is like, so I'm looking for title. Hello, are you being weird? Okay, let's see. It goes real fast. So the title, we'll just use begins with and say begins with system, right? So you can test this, right, to make sure that it's returning the records that you want. So in my case, it's returning my 3 records that I want. What I need to do to get that that fetch XML, right, is come back into my advanced find and then just basically download this fetch, right? So download the fetch, and then I will open it up, and I believe it's opening up in Notepad. So there you go. So I have this entire fetch. All I really need to do, it's got my information, my entity name here, my filter, you know. So it's got that info. All I need to do is copy that out, and I will go ahead and minimize those 2 things and minimize that, right? And so in my multi-part here, I just give it this right here. So give it my fetch and say okay. And that's all I need to do. Now I need to define a one-click action. So I believe this is called user info. This is a one-click action that runs on my system users, right? So I have this defined. It basically all it does is it takes my intro template and creates it basically for the particular user. So I'll just go ahead and select that information, add that in there. And I want this to come before terms and conditions. So nice little drag and drop. I can drag this up, line this up however I want to. So now let me just go ahead and save this. And we close this, and it should go right into, we'll go right into our dialogue, kind of see what we did. So once again, I'll use my proposal. And as you can see now, oh, I messed up. I messed up. So hang on one second. Let's fix that real quick. Very important. Very important to know. So because there was a setting that I did not select, right? I was not able to choose, right? So this for this particular user info, right? I want to make these optional. As you saw before when I brought that up, it had the list of the 3 engineers and it was going to just create that document. When I choose optional, right? Let me close this and let's run it one more time. And we'll see here that I have now, these are optional. So I get to pick and choose who I want. So for this particular one, I want to do both my quotes and then the engineer that I'm actually assigning to this. So I can pick from those. I'm going to pick Jamie Lannister here and go ahead and go through my document options. Again, just creating that PDF. And here we go. So now again, it takes just a little bit. So it's just creating, let's see, it's creating 4 documents and grabbing one from SharePoint. So that's it. And then packaging it all together into one piece. And then let's take a look at this, see what it looks like, and open it up. So again, I have my proposal, right? I have my first quote. I have my second quote. I have my introduction to your support engineer, right? So and then I have my terms and conditions. So as you can see, what this really does for you, and this is to highlight this, is that now I can basically use this. The system users has absolutely no relation whatsoever in this um, two opportunities, right? But so basically now what this allows you to do, the dynamic documents, is create documents from anywhere. You can just create documents from anywhere. So you can do these really complicated proposals now, or these really complicated multi-part documents, right? So and you can grab things from anywhere. So this helps out a bunch. I mean, I've done some of this before with other users, and it's been sometimes a real pain to to make templates from the opportunity to get to where you need to get to. So this simplifies that process a lot. Okay. The next thing, like say for example, I've sent that proposal off, right? They've decided they're going to accept option one on that. So let me go over to my quotes and let's go ahead and prepare them a real quote for this. So this is the particular option that we want. And usually for us, what we like to do is when we're creating these quotes, we like to send them their terms and conditions, whether they're net 30, whether they're net 60, net 90. We like to do that. And so when we um, set somebody up, we generate that document and then we store it onto SharePoint. So I want to grab that and I want to add it. So I'm just going to go through this, decide every step. I'm going to use this particular this quote here. All right, and read this information out. So I've not done a one-click action for this because I want to show you the kind of the process here. So I'm creating this quote as a PDF. I'm attaching it to an email, right? And I want to add additional documents. So to add the additional documents to get that net 30, that's actually stored on the accounts SharePoint location, right? So as you can see here, I've got this is how I basically select this. This is the for this particular quote. This is the SharePoint location in there. So I have any lookup on there that has a document location, I can actually select from there. So I know it's on the account, so I can go over to the accounts SharePoint location, and I have my net 30 terms there that I've already agreed with them on, right? So just with a click, I can select that, have my selected files, right? And then I'll go ahead and click OK. Right? So it lets me know that I've one additional file selected. Want to go ahead and add an email template into here. So let me see. Let me grab the right email template. Right. So got my email template, and then go ahead and say do that create document process. So again, what it's doing is it's creating my quote. It is two documents templates here, two DocumentsCorePack templates here. It's creating my quote. It's creating my email body, right? And it's grabbing that file from SharePoint and adding it to this. So it's created this quote. I have the ability to edit in Word and Word Online, and I'm just gonna say finish, and then it's gonna bring up an email for me here real quick. So it takes just a second um, for it to do that. And here we go. So I have my email, right? I have my email body right here. This is a Documents Core Pack template. I have my quote, right? My particular quote for that. Okay. And then I have my terms and conditions from them that I got from SharePoint. So that's what this basically looks like here. Open that up. So I have my net 30 payment terms. Okay. So with that being said, that brings me to the end of my demonstration. Couple of things real quick. I want to let you know that if you're new to this, if this is something you've never seen before, there are free trials available for all of our add-ons online, fully functional with no limitations, and they're fully supported. Takes about 30 minutes to get started, really, really quickly. Again, want to thank everybody for coming. Information's down there below, www.mscrm-addons.com. One thing that I would highly recommend is checking out our knowledge base, support.mscrm-addons.com. Yeah, if you have any questions or anything like that, phone numbers are there for the US and then everyone else.